I always like to have a little visual out there. Sometimes I need to read it and see it at the same time to absorb it. My name is Sarah Smithson. I'm the Director of Outreach Programs at the Hole in the Wall Gang Camp. We were founded by Paul Newman a little over 30 years ago, and we serve children with serious illness and their families, and we have year-round programming. I'm going to share a little bit about what we're doing with care packages and how we're pivoting to address the fact that we can't meet in person with our camper families at this time. A little background, I never went to camp growing up as a kid, so I didn't really understand the whole camping tradition. I grew up outside of the U.S., I heard about Hole in the Wall because it was less than an hour from my house, and I called them up and asked to volunteer when I was in college, and that was in 1995, and they have not managed to get rid of me since. I started as a summer staff member, and then have had the privilege of being part of the gang for over 20 years full-time, running the volunteer programs, creating a few programs in terms of our alumni program and our mobile program. And now I get this new role also to help create all of our virtual programming. So it's exciting times, and I have a deep love and appreciation for all camping programs out there. I know that they are so important to all kids, but especially important to the kind of kids that we serve who are feeling particularly isolated. So I'm going to try not to talk as quickly as I normally do. So if questions come up, please let me know. Let's see here. So a little background as to what we do at Hole in the Wall in terms of family outreach, which will help you better understand sort of how we're pivoting our program. So in our family outreach department, we have a mobile program. This started about 8 years ago. It's our newest programming expression. We had big dreams of like a tour bus and a campfire coming out of the floor and stars in the ceiling, and we were going to sleep on the bus and visit all the children in the Northeast. And then I called the tour bus company, and they said that would be $850,000 to build a tour bus. So we said, we'll get a minivan instead. So over the last 8 years, we have grown our program to 6 full-time staff members who take our program from DC to Maine, and they take the spirit and the joys and the traditions of camp. And we set up shop in community centers and libraries, museums, parks, and deliver a dose of camp to our families. We also go to campers' homes and bring them an afternoon or evening filled with their favorite meal, because food is very important to us here at Hole in the Wall, but also a lot of camp activities, and that really helps bring the families together. So that's one of the main programs that we work on. Parent programs is also a really important part of what we do at Hole in the Wall. We feel very strongly that if we can support our parents, ultimately it trickles down to the kids, right? So if the parents are feeling less isolated, that they've got better coping skills, that they're feeling more resilient, then that's going to help them be better parents for our kiddos. So we have a variety of offerings for our parents to help get them involved and connecting with each other. At Hole in the Wall, we have a lovely staff. There's a lot of us in matching shirts, and we're often overly enthusiastic about things. But most of us don't have the experience of actually having a child with a serious illness. So we feel the best way that we can support our families, or one of the best ways we can support our families, is actually to connect those parents to each other. because they speak a common language, they understand what's going on, they don't have to explain to another camp parent why their kid looks different or maybe acts different, or why they had to miss that family gathering again. So we really want our parents to start to create networks with each other. And then one of the other things that we do is care packages in my department. So we feel like we felt like we wanted to get a little camp out there for kids who were perhaps having a rough time. They were feeling down about something, or maybe they wanted help celebrating something, or maybe they were experiencing some financial stresses. So the ability to get back to school supplies was not available to them, or to celebrate a holiday or a birthday, they were struggling to do that. So we started what we call s'mores packages. And we put a lot of camp traditions in there, and we use donations from big corporations down to Girl Scouts and kids who want to donate all their birthday presents to a charity. And we take those things and we box them up and we send them out. So care packages really were part, or are part of our programming. But then, as we all are experiencing, COVID came along, and we really had to go, okay, a lot of our core programming was around connection, right? Connection for campers to each other, connection between parents and families. And that was going to go away with the fact that we couldn't meet in person. We had planned for this year to have spring family weekends, summer sessions, and over 60 regional events for our campers and their families. So we really had to start to think about, like, how are we going to make kids feel like they still belong to our community, they're still an important part of Hole in the Wall, without physically getting out there and seeing them. So what we took a look at was virtual programming for the summer. So our challenge was, how are we going to take the over 1,000 children that we see in the summer and their siblings and give them a fun virtual experience without using our facility this year. So we came up with 3 approaches, and I'm not going to talk about our summer sessions or our clubs so much, but focus on our mailing series, which is really our sort of package series. Currently we have, I think 400 campers signed up for one of these tracks that are going to be starting in July. So the summer sessions are virtual versions of camp. So they'll sign up for a specific week, and they will have live interactions on Zoom calls like this, where they'll get to do morning announcements, they'll get to do a stage night, they'll get to do the major traditions of camp, and there will be some pre-recorded activities for them as well. And then we have clubs. Clubs are for the kids who want to specialize in a certain skill. So maybe they want to join the cooking club or the photo club, and they are hosted by some volunteers who are crazy skilled in those areas. And there is some live and pre-recorded content there as well. But we wanted to make sure that we had an option for the kids who either didn't have reliable internet, access to technology, or were kind of done with Zoom calls, right? The Zoom fatigue is real in adults, and my 11-year-old will tell you it's real in children as well, after several months of online schooling. So we took this idea of a mailing series. So what does that look like? So it looks like this. Let's give you all the slides at once. Every child who is going to sign up for our virtual programming is going to essentially get camp in a box. So here is a picture of me getting overly excited about sending packages in the mail. So every kid this summer who signs up for any one of our virtual opportunities will get a box that sort of represents their summer. So we had already ordered all of our summer t-shirts that we give to kids. We had already ordered the songbooks, the water bottles, all of that good stuff. So we are going to pack that up and send it out with the supplies that are needed for any of their activities that they've chosen to do. So the camp t-shirt for our campers is different every year. It's a different color. It's got a different theme on it. And it's really sort of a badge of honor, right? So we wanted our kids to get that for this summer. The traditions of singing songs, really important here at Hole in the Wall. So we wanted them to have their songbook. And then we have a sweet tradition. We have a lot of not to stereotype, but sweet little old ladies who make handmade quilts for our campers. They're on their beds when they arrive. Those quilts go everywhere with the kiddos. So we wanted them to have their quilt and a couple of other bits and bobs in there. So they're getting that, which is very exciting. And then there is this mailing series. So this is the option for the kids who want to not necessarily be on screens for camp. They're designed for different age groups, but kids are open to pick whatever is appealing for them. And what we feel is great about these packages is that it allows families to go at their own pace. So right now, I feel like a lot of families are, despite having nowhere to go, right? They're already overprogrammed. They've got Zoom calls, they've got homeschool, they've got, all of this different stuff going on. Perhaps, work is stressful. Perhaps they're out of work for parents. So we wanted to do something that comes to their door, has absolutely everything in it, and then they can go at their pace. So if a kid signs up for a mailing series, what happens is they are going to receive 3 packages. The first package will have their camp in a box, all the traditional stuff. And then it will have the first part of the mailing series. And then the next 2 weeks, they will get 2 more boxes. The boxes are designed around a theme and will include all the supplies and all the instructions for a kid to learn about a certain project. So I have an example for you. I'm just going to need to switch out what we're looking at here. So this is a packet for a creative writing series. So this one we really like because it requires very few supplies. So we could almost do this, this activity without sending the kids anything. So this is an example of packet 1. It tells them a little bit about what the packet is going to, like how the process is going to work. We always put a list of supplies in here to show them what we're sending them. So in this, they're getting a journal and some pencils, some pens, some arts and crafts supplies, and who doesn't love a Camp Mad Lib book? And then it tells them, it walks them through the activities. So this package is all about journaling, which is a great way for kids to get some of their emotions out, get creative. It is screen-free, and we've got a lot of kids who are excited to dig into this summer. We always put in a little bit of a history. We call this sneaky learning. This box shows up and it's all fun, but we do have a lot of intention behind the activities and the learning in there. So it has a little history behind the activity. And then it might give some tips of the trade and some inspirational photos to help kids express themselves and get through the activity. These are normally, the packets range from anywhere between sort of 4 or 5 pages. This one goes on to give them some writing prompts to really help them start to expand their journal. And there are always opportunities for folks to report back to us as to how this activity went. So we sent them a very simple, plain journal. and show them different ways that they might be able to decorate it and express themselves. And then I think this is the final page. They have some Mad Libs in here that are all about camp. So it's specific to our program and hopefully brings up some fun memories of the time that they've spent at camp. So other examples of how, I'm gonna just switch back here. Other examples of mailing series that we've done before, obviously this one's around creative writing. We've done cooking. We did a cooking mailing series that was really fun. The first one was all about breakfast. The second one was all about lunch. And the third one was all about dinner, mainly dessert, but dinner. It is a great way to teach new skills. And they also are really a wonderful way to bring the families together to do an activity. We have done STEM is very, very popular. So science-based activities that can use really simple supplies like markers and coffee filters, and it's amazing what you can make with pipe cleaners. The supplies that go into them don't need to be particularly sophisticated or expensive, but really help kids get creative. As I mentioned, we really encourage kids to reach back out to us with their mailing series photos. So that is the only tech that we have in there. Is if you want to text us photos to show us what you've created, we will share those out with the group of campers who are participating in this. And then they get to really proudly show off what they've done and what they've created. We find that kind of communication, even for our shyest of campers, is one that they feel comfortable communicating. So connection is really important for us. As I mentioned at the beginning, we want to make sure that our kids are feeling still part of our community, even if they can't be with us. So we feel like when we're thinking about these packages, we're really intentional about the thought behind them. I think some people think like, oh, care packages, yeah, we throw stuff in a box and send it out. Well, we really want to be intentional in the connection. So like we're focusing on traditions, themes, and locations. So this is one of our traditions at camp. That's our dining hall. And that is a very large inflatable gorilla named Kong. He was gifted to us at camp. Someone blew it up in Paul Newman's yard as a joke. And then Paul Newman packed it up and sent it to us, which was then a joke on his friend, because his friend then had to pay for the gorilla and not return it back to the rental company. So Kong gets inflated at different points around camp, and he is a beloved character. So one of our mailing series was a mystery mailing series, and the first packet told the campers that Kong had been stolen. And so they got a variety of clues over the next couple of boxes to try and work out who stole Kong. And this was a great way to highlight some staff and some friendly faces that the campers knew. So was it the head of camp out who stole Kong? Was it our CFO, who is known for fishing with all the kids at camp? Did he steal Kong? So really bringing in a lot of camp, and it made for a lot of great back and forth between us and the campers. The connection part from camper to camper. So we have created a new email just to make it real simple. It's called dearcamp@holeinthewallgang.org. We are monitoring that. It allows kids to easily say hi to their friends at camp, and we can share information back and forth. They get to share finished photos with us, as I had mentioned. And we also have some projects in the works where our counselors will be writing notes that are going to go in all of our packages to the campers, so that they're getting a note from one of their counselors, which is very sweet. And then we find that these packages really help families connect to each other, which is really, really, really important. So to be able to provide games where the whole family can sit down and do it, or something like I mentioned, our cooking mailing series to get families together to cook together, to gain some new skills, we found has really helped us create these packages. So one thing I didn't mention was Dawn asked, what have we learned from putting these things together? A couple of things we've learned from putting the packages together is that they take way longer than we think to put together, even when you have a space and an assembly line and people, they take a long time. We realized that when we were sending packages, we were overwhelming our very small local post office. When we showed up with like 80 packages this spring to send out, they weren't terribly happy with us. So we learned how to work better with our community to get the packages out. And we've also found that this is a great way to rally a lot of supporters for camp. So right now we have an Amazon wish list on Amazon Smiles, which is their charity site, where our donors and friends of camp can go in and buy the specific supplies that we don't have on hand that we're going to need for this care package push this summer. So that has really been an awesome way to involve a whole bunch of volunteers and friends of camp who, unfortunately, they can't come to camp either this summer, but they want to feel like they can help out. So that's been a really neat silver lining. And then I think the other silver lining that we have learned is that much of what we're doing right now doesn't have to stop when it is safe to return to camp and safe to return to residential programs. This kind of thoughtful virtual programming for kids who can't get to camp or are traveling away from home for treatment, that they can still participate with us through these new virtual offerings. So that's our silver lining out of this, that it's forced us to think outside of the box and think new and think how we can reach more and more kiddos through our programming. So hopefully that was not too fast and too much chatting all at once.
Sarah, you ready for some questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Like Jeopardy.
Yep. All right. First question comes from Madison. She says, for your mailing series, do you send all of the supplies needed, provide gift cards to get these items, or just rely on the families to get the supplies to participate?
Sure.
Like perishable items or anything like that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Yes, we want to make sure that this package arrives and they can jump in and they don't have to go out and buy anything. The one exception is when we did our cooking mailing series, we obviously couldn't ship them some eggs and some perishable stuff. So in that case, what we got from them was what was their local grocery store that we could purchase a $10 gift card to their grocery store so that they could buy the eggs and the milk and whatever they might need. But we tried to put everything in and we try to make things affordable in terms of if we're sending out 30 packages. Does that answer all of the question?
We have a few more.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Next question. You mentioned sharing the photos that campers would send to you. How do you share those with the campers? How do you share those photos?
Yeah, so what we'll do is if kids send us a photo, normally it's obviously their parents, email us or text us a photo. We ask if we can share it. And then we will send out like a wrap-up email from that package to say, by now, look, most people have finished with package one. Here's some of the stuff they've created. And then we throw it all in the email and we send it out to all the kids who are participating.
Awesome. Most requested question, can you send me the PDFs of your presentation and the packages so we can send it to people on the call?
Absolutely. You
Awesome.
didn't get all that information just like that? Yes.
All right. This has to do with registration. So
Mm,
I guess I'm going to add in a part to this because I know that you've been doing the s'more care packages for quite some time.
yeah.
So how long do you keep registration open for the mailing series, and what does the s'more care packages look like? Um, or does registration stay open so kids can sign up at any time?
Yeah. So our s'more care package sign up is on our website. It's under the parent section. It says if your kid needs a little pick me up, and they simply fill it out, and it basically sends us all the text, their the reason why they want their package, anything that might be helpful in the package, name, like ages of the kiddos, that kind of stuff. So then we vet that they're actually one of our campers, because they do need to be part of our community. So we double check that in the database, and then we send that out, and we make record in the database when they get a s'mores care package, so that if we do need to send them another one in the future, we know what we've sent them already. We use Salesforce as a database. In terms of sign up, we run mailing series regardless of all this new programming. So we've always run them. So we email out all the kids who are eligible. We tend to do a mailing series by region. So like we might email all the kids in the Boston area for an art mailing series, so that if they make some connections, they're sort of more geographically able to connect outside of the camp program. There's normally a cap. We do about 30 packages in a mailing series, or 30 campers in a mailing series normally. This summer we're doing 80 to 100. And the sign up is normally an online form that we'll send out, and they'll log in, fill it out, and then it populates into our database.
Awesome.
You could do it really simply through an email invite as well, and keep a spreadsheet of who's going. So all of our invites and RSVPs happen to be through our database right now, but that's not necessary.
Have you figured out the cheapest, most reliable mailing option for the boxes?
Oh, magic unicorns would be great. Yeah, we've taken a look at a lot of that, and it's a bit of a toss-up. There are currently, what we're using this summer is FedEx. We have a corporate FedEx account, which gives you a discount the more packages you send, because they're coming up to pick up a bulk section of packages. It is fairly similar to the U.S. postal system. We just happen to have a camp in a town with a tiny post office, so it wasn't really worth overwhelming their system with the amount of packages we needed to send this summer.
When you talked about your camp out program, the setup in hometowns and libraries, parks, etc., do kids register for that? Do you only see kids with serious illness in that case, or can there be friends or schoolmates that participate?
That's a great question. Yes, our camp out program is open to the entire family. And in fact, the entire family is encouraged to come together. And all of our camp out visit or our regional events are family friendly, free of charge, and include food. So all the F's in there. We do get families to register, so we know ahead of time how many folks are coming out. Our little trick is that we will send out, to say, hey, Hartford, Connecticut, we're going to have a picnic in your town on this date and this time, but we don't give them the exact location, so that no one can show up having not RSVP'd. And that helps us crowd control a little bit, especially if we're in an environment where we have a sort of cap as to how many people we can have there.
Awesome. How do you reach out, if at all, to kids that don't have internet, email, or online access?
That is a great question, and we do have a fair amount. We will do calling campaigns to help get families. So we do have access to our database where we can pull that kind of information. We also send a lot of information to our hospital contacts. To let them know our event schedule for the month and where we're going. We take referrals, like a hospital social worker might call us and say we have a family who would really benefit from a home visit. Sometimes working with hospital contacts is a little difficult for us because we see multiple diseases. And so, whether a kid is eligible to be a part of our programming, sometimes that gets a little tricky, but we do try to, we email out, we mail out invites, and then we will call. And texting is amazing because so many families can just fire off a yes and send us the information, and then we can get them all sorted.
Any other